Before we get started, anyone have a question? Changing it up a little there. Hi, welcome back. You guys really liked the last just short question answer stream, so I guess this is what we're doing now. Before you ask, I don't know how often during the week I will have a chance to do this, so I'm going to aim to do them on Tuesdays. Maybe if the week behaves, maybe on Thursdays as well. We will still have regular streams on Fridays. I think, yes, I've pretty much decided that tomorrow's book, the Reading with Lily book, is going to be Dorothy Allison's Wonderful Bastard Out of Carolina, so we can look forward to that. So some weeks might be a little busier than others, so might not do this every week, but you have certainly spoken, and I will listen. So, hi. No tea today. This is a quad shot of espresso with a little bit of heavy cream in it because I need way more caffeine if I'm going to get through today. So, you have all sent in a number of questions, some of them through comments, some of them through my Discord server. If you are a Patreon and Gumroad subscriber, if you are a Patreon or Gumroad subscriber, you get access to my personal Discord server, and there are special channels on there for you. So there, and I've had a couple of email questions too. I cannot promise I will get to all of them. There are some things that I'm just not going to answer, either because they're private or because there's a reveal coming later in a series that's still ongoing, or. But if enough people ask a question, or if it's a question that I can just answer, I will. So let me set the timer. I really believe in timers. I love timers. Kitchen timers are a writer's best friend. And let me reach over and grab, as I've been writing down these questions. So the first question, quad for the win, yeah. I love a good quad shot, and I'm just not going to get through today without it. So the first question is from reader Lex W. I'm not going to say your name unless I'm fairly sure it's not identifiable. So most of the time I'll use initials or whatever. I'm just going to try to be as polite and as cognizant of other people's privacy as I can. So from reader Lex W. Came in a comment from the last stream, is the blossoming of human magical ability the genetic legacy of demons breeding with humans? And this is the Danny Valentine series. So this is very interesting because Lucifer says to Danny at least once, I pulled your kind up out of the muck. So there's an intimation that he feels responsible for humanity. Well, not responsible, because I don't think he feels responsible for a whole lot. I think he feels, oh goodness, what is the word? I'm not sure. I think he feels like he owns it. So proprietary, maybe what might be the word. But there's more than one side to any story, especially where demons are involved. And I think it's Jafframel who says, oh no, maybe it's Sardamal who says, despite what Lucifer may say, he had no hand in making your series, which might have been that, the Despoiler had a hand in it under Lucifer's orders, or it was a side project of his. So we don't know. And it so happens that, Jafframa might attribute the blossoming of psychic abilities in that universe to intermarriage with demons to some point, because, he says the human female breeds, which is just an awful way to put it. And it just, Jafframa, come on. But, he's a demon. He says things. So I happen to think it's more likely, now where this came from is the legends of the Nephilim, which were a major influence. All that whole Gnostic stuff and the persistent legends of Nephilim really informed the background of the Valentine series. So you could say that. I think it's more likely that it was just how humans developed. Because if you think about it, wandering around as we are, soft and pink, no real claws, no real teeth. Now I sound like a Far Side cartoon. If you've read the Far Side, you know which one I'm talking about. It's one of the two polar bears and no, that's a different one, the soft chewy center one. It's the two crocodiles or alligators, and they have a bite out of a surfboard, and they're laying back on the beach, and just, oh, that was incredible. No fur, no claws, just soft and pink, which delighted me as a child, and because I was a very morbid child. I'm a morbid adult. Anyway, I happen to think that a sort of sixth sense, which could be just the brain processing clues that are too small to intrude on the conscious level, or genuine sixth sense, extrasensory, whatever, it makes sense for us to have developed that. Now, if you've read the Watchers series, you know that the Watchers in Circle Lightfall have a sort of 100th monkey theory about getting a bunch of Lightbringers together in one place, and the incidences of violent crime and stuff going down. And where that came from is a transcendental meditation talking point. I'm not at all sure the statistics bear it out, but it was an interesting concept to play with. So I took the concept, shoved it into the book, and away we went. So perhaps the Lightbringers and Circle Lightfall and the Watchers being able to protect certain of these people. So all Lightbringers are psychic, but not all psychics are Lightbringers, which is something talked about in the series. And then later in the Society series, where governments have found out about these people, and they're looking to take them and use them and figure out how to codify these abilities and how to enhance them. That might have kicked off a big thing. By the time we get to Celine's day, and then later Danny Valentine's day, this sort of stuff has become a science, and they start looking for the confluence of genetics or whatever that make up a scion. So is that sort of ability from demons tinkering? We don't know. It's a complex question, at least in that universe. I feel so odd here telling you about, the imaginary worlds and the imaginary people in my head. But on the other hand, this is something that I think maybe some non-writers don't really know, is just how much background thought and work goes into writing a book or writing a series. And there's so many things that the writers know that you just can't shoehorn into the bloody book because space considerations. I mean, I love to hear long exposition, and I love world building, and I love all that. Other readers, not so much. Then again, I adore footnotes, and other readers, not so much. So, reader, Lex W., that's your answer. A little more complex than it seems on the surface. Okay, so the second question, I'm keeping an eye on the time here too, is from Reader MM. And Reader MM, this came in through my Discord chat, and this particular reader said, okay, Valentine series, what was up with that guy's hand, and how did that guy with the hand start working with Jaffermel? And I had to laugh because naturally this reader's talking about McKinley, Vann and McKinley. Vann and McKinley are some of my favorite secondary characters from that. Of course there's Gabe and Eddie, and Gabe and Eddie really have my heart. But Vann and McKinley, yes, they are a couple. They were a couple from the beginning. I tried to make that clear in the text, but I don't know if it came through. Oh, I love you, coffee. Caffeine, let's never fight. So Vann and McKinley are a couple, and the story of McKinley's hand kind of, it has its antecedents in Hellsraunt and how they actually came to be working for Jaffermel. So like any intelligence agency, the intelligence agency of the demons on Earth in these books, it's a set of fiefdoms. There are demons who have their own little enclaves in there, and they're all sort of working together for a common goal, because Lucifer wants it that way. But really, they're all looking to extend their own power and influence too. Vann and McKinley were originally working for another demon of the greater flight who had a bone to pick with Jaffremel. I mean, everybody did. You don't get to be the devil's assassin without several people having large rib cages to pick with you. So Vann and McKinley both endured a great deal of modification and were sent out with a team to basically inconvenience Jaffremel, or if they could, do him a great deal of physical damage. This did not go well, but Jaffremel was impressed, not by the rest of the team, but was impressed by Vann and McKinley, because they were a couple at that point too, and not only did they work together, but they fought together very effectively. So the movie Charlize Theron in the Old Guard, their combat scenes are set up really well. So the combat scenes it's clear these people have fought together so much. And there's wonderful instances in the blocking of the combat scenes where somebody hands off a weapon or somebody perform some action because they know without a doubt that the other person is behind them and is going to act in a specific way. And when you cooperate, collaborate, fight with somebody for that long, you get that sense of where they're going to be, how they're going to react. Auftragstaktik, I think the Germans called it. So Vann and McKinley managed to, in the short time of their interaction with Jaffremel, the short, violent interaction with Jaffremel, managed to impress him. So, he dealt with the incursion, and he offered Vann and McKinley, the only survivors of that battle, other than himself, he offered them a choice. He was like, you guys are pretty cool. How about you come work for me? Of course, it means you're going to have to betray this other demon that you were working for, and that means that you can't go back because I'm the only one who's going to be able to protect you, because Jaffremel's like that. So Vann and McKinley, not being idiots, took him up on that, and since he had taken McKinley's hand earlier in the fight, he was now their liege lord. It's very feudalistic. So he actually did some modifications with all sorts of resources that Hellsrot had, and he attached a sort of new hand for McKinley. And along with that, some of the other modifications interlaced with some of the first demon did, and it gave McKinley another set of talents, just like Vann has. So I could go into what talents they have, but it's probably very boring to anybody who isn't me. So that is the story of how McKinley got that hand and how Vann and McKinley came to be working for Jaffremel. So naturally, I couldn't put it in the books. There was no way to do it because the focus was so tight. We're just looking through a keyhole through Danny's head. But that's how it happened. And I think that knowing that as a writer gives their interactions with each other and with Danny a sort of heft and internal consistency. So because I know all that, because I've spent the time to figure that out, it makes the characters behave in certain ways, I think. So I've often likened this to an iceberg. You only see the top layer of it, but there's all that stuff underneath it that's just lifting the iceberg out of the water, whatever you do see. So that's part of the vast mass of the iceberg down there. So the third question, let me check our time. Okay, we've got a few minutes. So the third question was from reader VG or RG, and asking about Taken. So Taken was a Harlequin that I did, and called it, its working title was Weasel Boy, because the genesis of Taken was in I'm not going to lie, a taxidermied wolverine that my writing partner saw at Cabela's, a flagship store of Cabela's. So if you don't know, Cabela's is an outdoorsy store. They sell camping gear, all sorts of stuff, archery gear, pink camouflage for the ladies. There's also in their flagship store, which is close enough to where I live that we can do day trips to it, there is a giant aquarium where they have local fish and whatever, and you can see there's salmon and carp and stuff. I've taken pictures from there before, but they also have all sorts of other stuffed, taxidermied animals. And I had talked to my writing partner about wear this, wear that. If you're going to do a romance with a were, what were would you do? This was before Jazzy and Sugarbelle. Kangaroos hadn't entered the equation yet. And she took a picture of the stuffed Wolverine at Cabela's and sent it to me and was like, okay, wear Wolverine. And I was like, I could do that. I could do that. So I thought, if you have Wolverines, because the image of Wolverines they're sort of like Tasmanian devils mixed with honey badgers. They just don't care. And the Latin name is gulo gulo, the glutton, because they will, steal and hoard food. There are documented instances of Wolverines going up against bears and just taking their kills because you don't want to mess with that. It's a whole bunch of disrespectful rage in a little furry bowl with big claws. But there's something else interesting about Wolverines, is that they seem to remember slights. They seem to hold grudges. And there have been cases of Wolverines chasing hunters or other animals who have wronged them down, which is something they share with several other mustelids, like honey badgers. Actually, honey badgers have also been documented doing this. And me, I've read about that, and yeah, somebody else knows Cabela's and says they have a lot of creepy taxidermy. Yes, they do, and some of it's really interesting because it's historical. More coffee. They have a little sign that says, when the animal was hunted, and thankfully a lot of that stuff is illegal now, but they still have the stuffed corpses, and they put them on display, they care for them, so I guess at least they're not being wasted. Also in this particular flagship store, there is an entire plane, a light plane that was used for some explorations in, I think, Alaska and Arctic Circle and whatever, hanging from the ceiling. So that was my timer. So if you wanted to know about Taken, Weasel Boy, that was the genesis, was a stuffed Wolverine. And the more I started researching Wolverines, gulo gulo, and the more I started thinking about how to fit them into a romance, Zach came along very naturally. Naturally Wolverines would have problems with their temper. They would have, just this, you do me wrong and I'm going to get after you. So they're not quite vengeful, but you really don't want to piss one off. I mean, vengeful is probably the wrong word. But then again, I happen to like Zach. He's one of the few heroes that I've ever written, that I actually like. So, yeah, most of the time I'm neutral on them. Jaframel, I disliked. I disliked him intensely, still do. So, but that is a tale for another time. So, I hope you have enjoyed this. I hope you've enjoyed these. Remember, you can submit questions through YouTube comments, through the Discord channel. If you are a subscriber to Patreon or Gumroad, there's a whole Ask Lily channel in there. Just scroll down and you'll find it on my personal Discord server, which you get access to. The email form on my website, although I get so much email, including a flood of hate mail from people who think I'm getting my girl cooties all over Tolkien lately, so that's been fun. But sometimes I don't get to the email questions as quick as I'd like because there's just so many to go through. So that's it. I hope you like these, and again, I will do these as schedule permits. It might not be every week that I get to do these, but I think this is a good job. Yeah, I'm very nervous. This is very nerve-wracking for me. You've been very kind. Thank you. And I'm going to go drink some more coffee, and I have the Council of Calburn to get back to. I have to read through that again and figure out just who the traitor is, because he's being cagey. Oh, thanks for streaming. Thank you for being here. So, it's been lovely. I hope you have a good day. What day is it? It's Thursday. Okay. I don't even know what day it is. Oh, yeah, more coffee. More coffee is definitely in order. So have a lovely day. Remember to hydrate. It's really warm out there. Wear your mask, not only for air quality, but because we're still not out of the woods yet. Just be kind to yourselves and each other. Deep breath. We'll get to the end of the week. Ta-ta.